Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, Say What's Real TV. This review is for Tyler Perry's Sistas, Season 7, Episode 21, Penultimate. So we open up the episode exactly where we left off last week with Jordan confronting Andy about the breakup. He is demanding answers. He wants to know the truth. Was this whole relationship one big lie? So Andy, she stands 10 toes down with this charade that she's playing, and she lies in his face and tells him that it's Gary. She's still in love with him and that she realized that the more they spent time with Gary and Penelope. I'm like, girl, y'all had one little dinner date at your penthouse and that was a total disaster. So Jordan, he gets real close up on her and damn near whispering in her ear. And he's like, you mean to tell me, after I've been laying this pipe on you and making you scream my name, you had Gary on your mind this whole time? Now, even though we know that Andy is lying, it's weird that Jordan wants to know about the sex part of it all, as if he felt like he was doing something in the bedroom, like he was really bringing it. And now his ego is shot, thinking that Andy was really fantasizing about Gary and that mandingo of a D, which, quiet as it's kept, probably is the truth. So Andy, she continues to lie and tells Jordan that she still loves Gary and that he needs to leave. Now Jordan, he agrees to go. And he tells her, look, I know you. Granted, they've been dating, about 4 to 5 months? But he knows her like the back of his hand. He says, I know you wouldn't do anything like this unless Gary has something over your head. And he vows to find out what that is. He's going to stop at nothing until he does so. Now, I appreciate the fact that Jordan can recognize that Andy is lying. But at the end of the day, he doesn't really know Andy like that. Because just a few episodes back, Andy was lying her behind off and keeping secrets. So you really don't know her for real. But she tells him to leave it alone and he storms out. So Fatima, she rushes in asking Andy what did she miss, and she comforts her because she sees that she's clearly distraught. Andy starts crying a river, saying that she has to marry Gary or he's going to destroy Jordan and Jordan is too perfect. And Fatima told her, you don't have to marry Gary. And we as the audience agree, you can try to put a stop to this by calling Agent Watt. We have yet to see you do that. This is utterly ridiculous. So Fatima was like, hell no, to the no, hell to the no. She lets Andy know what they're not going to do is allow Gary to get away with it, and she is going to Olivia Pope the situation and handle it, and storms out of the office. So we head over there to Sabrina's, and she's just getting up when she gets a phone call from Karen, who's checking up on her to make sure she's good and rested and feeling okay, because this is the day she's getting her eggs harvested. So Karen notices something in Sabrina's voice and asks her, is she having second thoughts? And Sabrina tells her no, she just wishes that Rich, the guy she's dating, would be the one that would be supporting her and going through this process with her instead of Damani, a kind co-worker who she doesn't know from a can of paint, but that's neither here nor there. So Karen tells her, don't worry about all that. Remember what the doctor said. Don't stress yourself out. You may not have Richard's support, but you got your girls and we'll be there in full force. So after she hangs up with Karen, she gets a knock on the door. Now, mind you, it's bright and early in the morning. She wants to know who could this be this early, so she gets to the door and it's Damani. And I'm trying to figure out, how does Damani know where you live, Sabrina? Just because Damani was kind enough to offer up his sperm does not mean he needs to know where you lay your head at night. So he comes in, he gets comfortable, she gets him a cup of coffee, and he lets her know that his blood work came back negative, so he's good to go and ready to donate his sperm to her. So of course she's ecstatic, she's grateful and appreciative, and he puts his hand on top of hers, saying that he is glad that he can help out. She didn't move his hand, she didn't say anything. It was kind of given that she liked it. But then they get a knock on the door. And Damani gives this look as if, who is that knocking on your door? Like, sir, you shouldn't even be there. So she gets to the door, it's Rich. He comes in, he sees Damani and automatically goes into jealousy mode, like, what's going on up in here? So Sabrina tells him nothing's going on. Rich says, it doesn't look like that to me because you in here chilling like a villain in your pajamas with your co-worker that's way too eager to give you his nut in a cup. So Damani chimes in to let Rich know that it's not like that. Rich don't give a damn. He don't want to hear nothing from Damani. He tells him to remain silent because he's talking to his woman. He then notices the flowers that Damani bought. So of course now he is just big mad. So Damani says he's just going to head on out, and Rich had to add his little 2 cents and get slick at the mouth. And Damani quickly let Rich know, ain't nothing soft about me. I suggest you lower your voice and don't let this suit confuse you. So Damani's standing there like he'll give a real mean Mr. Miyagi kick, and Rich looking like, I wish a ninja would. Just test me. So Sabrina, she intervenes to let them both know this is her house. And then she apologizes to Damani because she knows she can't mess her chances up of getting this sperm that he is so free and willing to offer her. So he tells her he'll see her at the hospital, and Rich is still bumping his gums, so he leaves. And Sabrina asks Rich, like, what's your problem? So instead of Rich sitting down with Sabrina and having an adult conversation about what took place, he tells her good luck today with Prince Damani's weak-ass sperm, and he walks out the door, leaving her standing there. Now, does Rich have the right to feel some type of way? He is in a relationship with Sabrina. She's in the house in her pajamas with another guy that Rich knows is filling her and bringing her flowers. It's early in the morning. Why is Damani even there? He's donating sperm. Why is he even at her house? So the optics really don't look good. So I can understand why he may be in his feelings, but I feel like his ego had him way out of pocket and extremely rude. And the least he could have done was sat down and had that conversation with Sabrina. Now she's extra stressed when she was supposed to be stress-free. So we head over there to the salon, and Trey, he comes in. He speaks to Karen. She basically gives him the cold shoulder. And he was like, oh, it's like that? Is this because you salty with Pam because of her come up? So Karen was like, oh, is that what she told you? Trey lets it be known we talk about everything. So Karen tells him she saw him in a grocery store with another girl. Now, mind you, we've had a whole 2-week time jump since she took a picture of Trey kissing the girl, and she held on to this information. Now, I feel like if she was so concerned about Pam and how she was feeling in her well-being and her heart, she would have gone to Pam with this information immediately, because the two of them weren't even at odds about the money at this particular time. So Trey tells her that him and Pam never agreed to become official, and Karen seems surprised by that because of the way Pam has been walking around the salon acting about Trey, saying that he is the one. And just because the two of them aren't really speaking, Pam is still her girl, and she doesn't want her to get played to the left and get her heart broken. And she tells Trey that if he doesn't want to be with Pam, he needs to be honest and let her know. So Trey tells Karen that she's a good friend looking out for Pam, even though they're not speaking. And Karen says to him, well, let her know I'm a good friend, but after you tell her how you really feel. Now, I'm not sure what Karen actually expected Trey to say to Pam, but it seems like Karen was trying to be vindicated somewhat for feeling like Pam was never his type in the first place. So Trey, he comes back in the salon to suck face with Pam, and Karen looks at them with a frowned up face like, if anybody needs me, I'll be in my office. So Pam mentions that Karen still has an attitude with her, and Trey says, look, Karen is a good friend to you, and you have been using her shop to do this and that and the other. You should break her off some of the profits. And she didn't really want to do it. She wanted to know why Trey is taking her side. And he tells her it's not about taking sides. It's just about right is right and wrong is wrong. Now, when it comes to Pam and Karen with this whole financial situation, Pam needs to pay whatever it is she owes Karen. Get her card to a zero balance. Make sure you don't owe her anything from all of your past purchases. That's number one. Now, when it comes to Roots to Riches, I feel like some type of contract should be drawn up with how much Pam is going to be paying her for selling, storing, and promoting in Karen's salon, but I don't think Karen needs to be made partner in Roots to Riches brand. So then Trey tells Pam that Karen is a good friend to her because she put him on blast for catching him in the grocery store with Moniqua. So come to find out, Pam knew all about it, so Trey didn't lie when he says that they talk about everything. So Pam pretty much just chalked it up as Karen was trying to be a good friend to her and not jealous when she was telling her to slow her roll. So Trey tells her that he did tell Karen that they were never exclusive, but the conversation between the two of them made him realize that he wants to be exclusive with Pam. So we officially have a new ship, Tram, Trey plus Pam. Woo child. What do you guys think about that? Are we excited for Pam? Are we still not trusting Trey? Do we still have our good eye on Trey? Of course we do. We will continue to do that. So far, he's been a positive influence for Pam, and I love that they have that communication in place to where she already knew about Moniqua. So hey, if Pam likes it, I love it. We'll see where it goes. So we get a real quick scene with Danny having a therapy session with Creisha and basically just telling her how she feels about the whole Tony situation, dealing with his kids, dealing with Tiffany coming back in town, basically telling you she was going to get him back, start sending him news and him deflecting, not wanting to address the situation. So now Danny is asking Creisha to help her off this ledge before she gets arrested for putting her paws on Tiffany. So we go over there to Karen's house. Miss Lisa is there. Zach comes over to help put the twins' cribs together. And the real question is, where the hell are these cribs going to fit in this small one-bedroom apartment? It's time for Karen to move, right? So just like Zach, Aaron is not at work either. He's there to try to get the cribs put together. And he's reading the instructions. He's halfway done. Zach does not want to read the instructions and basically is getting nowhere and taking his frustrations out on Aaron. And we really don't have time for all that childish behavior. So Miss Lisa, she jumps in and lets each man know, look, Zach, you may be better than Aaron in some areas, and Aaron, you may be better than Zach in other areas. The two of you need to accept each other's strengths and applaud them. And where the two of you are weak, then take up each other's slack. So where I was a little confused that was Miss Lisa trying to tell Zach, you go home and crunch the numbers and set up a trust fund for both of my grandkids while Aaron is going to stay here and go ahead and fix these cribs since you're not able to do it. Now, first of all, Miss Lisa, that's not your call to make as far as him setting up a trust fund for both of your grandkids. But Zach, he just looked at her and smiled. He didn't say anything, so I guess they are all in agreement that it is what it is. But at the same time, I still say Zach is not obligated to do that. Number one, Aaron is not weak in the area of money. Aaron allegedly has way more money than Zach does, and he is an accountant. And number two, Zach is pretty good at putting things together. You are the one that turned him on to chain breakers through your little young boyfriend, Tenderoni, you had. So he is well aware of how to build things. So this little scene was a little ass backwards. But I get what she was trying to say initially about the two of them helping each other out when need be. So we go over there to Hayden's house and he's trying to go to work, but Tamara is badgering him about Miss Marie, accusing him of cheating with her, which he really is, but he's lying through his teeth saying he is not and telling Tamara that she has a lot of nerve because he knows she's being sneaky, and he calls her out on all her secret phone calls and text messages and asks her to see her phone. All of a sudden you can hear crickets. Tamara didn't have anything to say. Hayden was like, that's what I thought, and he walks out. So not even 2 seconds after Hayden leaves, here comes Fatima knocking on the door, and how they did not see each other is beyond me. So Tamara was like, what are you doing here, Fatima? She says to get answers, and you're going to give them to me. She wanted to know, why did Tamara run up out of the office when she saw Hayden with Miss Marie? And Tamara flat out told her that was none of her business, which it wasn't. So Fatima tells her she really don't give a damn about her and Hayden's little spats they have. What she wants to know is Hayden involved with Gary when it comes to his plans for Andy. So Tamara told her she don't know ish about Gary and Andy, and Hayden has nothing to do with that because he's too busy focusing on Miss Marie and her case. And Tamara also adds that she highly doubts that Gary is worried about Andy because she hears that he's getting some bomb-ass snatch from someone else. Fatima, she clearly peeps game and tells Tamara that she has been quite helpful, basically letting Fatima know without saying a word that she is hunching Gary. So we go over there to the law firm, and Danny goes to see Andy. After her therapy session, she felt inclined to go talk to her friend to check on her and see why she's making this big mistake, effing up her life trying to marry Gary. Andy, she doesn't want to talk about it. She's tired of talking about it, and Danny tells her, well, stop doing it. So Danny tells her she doesn't believe any of this. Andy doesn't care. She says nobody believes it, and it doesn't matter. It is what it is. She has fallen back in love with Gary, and there's nothing they can do about it. So we go over there to Gary's office, and Jordan comes barging in, demanding Gary to tell him what he has over Andy's head. I mean, it was quite laughable. Even Gary was laughing. He was like, wow, such hostility. So Jordan, he jacks him up, and Gary basically lets him know, look, the woman is in love with me, always has been and always will be. So Gary tells him what he tells all the rest of them. If you gonna do something, go ahead and do it. Gary is unfazed by these people with these idle threats. So Jordan says, oh, you're not gonna get away with this. And Gary said, look around, I already have. So Jordan, he runs over there to Fuel to talk to Rich and tells him that he just left Gary's office. So Rich was like, tell me you didn't fight this dude. But Rich, you was all up in Sabrina's apartment acting a whole donkey with Damani. So Jordan fixes his lips to say almost, but I let him go. You let him go. Jordan, go sit down somewhere, please. So Rich tells Jordan that he doesn't need another scandal and that he needs to win this election. And Jordan says he don't give a damn about the election. He wants his woman back from Gary. So Tony, he runs his little goofy behind in there, and all three of them stand there talking about their women problems and call themselves one sad trio. So as if Tony and Rich didn't just have this same exact conversation just last episode, now we have Jordan in the mix, and they're basically trying to convince Rich that having kids could be all worth it, and if he cares about Sabrina, go ahead and make it happen and not allow Damani to be the one to give Sabrina the child that she wants. So Rich, he takes heed and he tells Jordan and Tony to watch the juice bar because he's going to get his woman. So we see Danny and Andy leaving the law firm, and Hayden stops her like, where are you going? And Andy has to let him know, I don't report to you. And he tells her not yet. So Danny, she starts clowning him, calling him a cockroach, and says she was going to use her mace like a can of Raid. And tells him also that his pants didn't fit and he was going to die by strangulation first. And I'm like, now wait a minute, Danny, because your man's pants be just as tight. But that's neither here nor there. You could tell they probably was laughing throughout that entire scene. So Danny, she went to the car, and I'm surprised Hayden didn't call her ghetto the way he does everybody else. So Hayden was like, you got a lot of friends that come to the office, huh? And Andy was like, I have friends. Catch. So she asked him, what is it I can do for you? And he says, well, since you around here abusing all this PT time, are you aware of the meeting with Miss Marie? And she says, yes, I'm the one who said it, so I'm gonna need you to mind the business that pays you. So she tries to make a dig at him about sleeping his way to the top and how it didn't work for Eddie Murphy and Boomerang and it's not gonna work for him. Now, the one thing I noticed about Andy in this scene, she wasn't distraught, she wasn't stone-faced, she seemed like she was back to normal. I mean, we have gone weeks with Andy not saying a word, acting like she can't cope. Now she is spewing off insults, coming with the comebacks. I mean, okay then, girl. So then we go back over there to Gary's office. This time, it's Fatima pulling up on Gary. She's trying to talk to him. He doesn't want to talk to her. She's grabbing his arm. His little security guard in the back tries to bust a move, but Gary holds up his hand to let him know it's cool. So Fatima says, I know what you're trying to do to Andy, and Gary yells out, and I'm not going to get away with it. Oh my God, when I tell you I was hollering and told her, you mofos need to get some new dialogue. I said, oh my God. Cheeto had to laugh at his own damn self. That was funny to me. So he basically just reiterates the same thing Andy is telling everybody. We're getting married and there's nothing you guys can do about it. And he made sure to tell her to let Zach know, her idiot boyfriend, his words, not mine, that he's taking real good care of his coins. So Fatima puts her hands on Gary again, and then his little security runs over there, and Gary tells him, check her purse, secure her purse, because he knows that Fatima carries a gun. So he snatches her purse, and Fatima's fighting for it, saying no, and she shoves him, and he shoves her back and throws her purse on top of her. Now she's on the ground, rubbing her elbow. I'm like, Fatima, come on now. You know doggone well you didn't have no business going over there trying to confront Gary by your damn self like you that big and bad. At this point, we want you living in your soft girl era. Now, what I really want to know is, did you really think Gary was going to be scared of you and give you the answers that you were looking for? Or was this part of a calculated plan to have you roughed up a little bit? That way your next move was going to be your best move. Because the next thing we know, Fatima is making a phone call, and she finally calls Madam and tells her she needs her help with something. And we already know that Madam don't play about her cousin. So we head over there to the hospital where Sabrina's getting ready to have her procedure. She's sitting there waiting. Maurice, he gets there first. Then Damani follows, and Maurice calls the man Sir Sperm-A-Lot. I said, no, he didn't. So Sabrina and Damani are talking, and Maurice brings up them co-parenting, and Sabrina says that she's talked to him about this before. They will not be co-parenting, and the look on Damani's face says something different. So the rest of the ladies, they get to the hospital, they all meet Damani, they introduce themselves. So Andy, she gets a phone call, and of course, it's Gary. So he tells her that her plan is not going to work trying to send Fatima and Jordan to intimidate him. Either she's going to meet him at the altar in her white dress like Jagged Edge says, or Jordan will end up in the bottom of Lake Lanier. So Andy, she hangs up on Gary and she goes back over there where the group is, and she sees Maurice holding his belly, and she's like, what are you doing? He said, hell, everybody else pregnant, fill me up with human. I'm like, all right, gut full of human. I see you. So Karen, she starts laughing, and I don't think I ever seen Karen laugh before like that. So she says Maurice is funny and that they should bring him around more. And Andy gives her a look like, no ma'am. So the nurse, she comes to get Sabrina. They're ready for her, and she's allowed to take one person back. So everybody thinks they're getting ready to go back there with her, but she chooses Damani. And they're like, oh, okay, like, is that how it is? Danny was the only one didn't give a damn. That would have been me. Like, girl, go ahead on. So while they're waiting for Sabrina to finish with her procedure, Maurice talks to Annie and asks her about Miss Marie, her new client. And he's saying all kind of stuff that she's on her 5th husband and she makes the men take her last name, calling her a boss bee. So Andy tells him, Maurice, you know I can't discuss my cases. So Maurice tells her, you ain't no fun with that funeral ass suit on. So Maurice, he pulls out his phone because he really wants to see what the new husband looks like. So he asks Andy, was this particular person the new husband? And she says, yes, that is Roger Willis. So Maurice tells Andy that he knows him as Philip My Guts and that he has been one of his top fans on his fixation page for months. So unknowingly, Maurice has just given Andy what she needed to win Mrs. Marie's case. So the next thing we know, Rich, he comes busting through the door, and they were like, Rich, what are you doing here? He's like, where is she? Karen was like, well, if you're talking about Sabrina, she's in the back getting ready for her procedure. So Rich, he takes off running, and Karen was like, Maurice, go get him, because I can't. Maurice was like, it ain't my sperm, it ain't my cat. So the nurse is going over the procedure with Damani and Sabrina when Rich comes busting through the door asking, was it too late? So everybody's looking crazy. Sabrina wants to know what he's doing there. The nurse saying that this is unorthodox. Rich didn't give a damn. He says he's there to get his woman. If anybody was going to give her sperm, it was going to be him. And Sabrina has this look on her face, and that's where the episode ends. Woo child, this episode was the calm before the storm. What do you guys think about Fatima being pushed to the ground by Gary's security and her finally getting Madam on the line? Will Madam show up or will she send her goons? Either way, we need them to do something about Mr. Gary Borders quick and in a hurry, right? Next week is the season finale. I hope we go out with a bang. Drop down in the comments. Let me know what your predictions are. This particular episode was written by Jamey Giddens. Let me know what your thoughts were on this episode. Let's talk about it. As always, you guys, thanks for your support. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.